Hi, I'm Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. In this episode, we will discuss Bangladesh. I have with me Barrister Shameem Haider Patwary. Mr. Patwary is a man of many abilities. He is a politician, a practicing lawyer at the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, and chairman of the Board of Trustees of Dhaka International University. Mr. Patwary is a two-time former MP from Jatiya Party, so far the third largest political force. Those in power in Bangladesh want to disallow Jatiya Party and the largest force, Awami League, from participating in the next election. The second largest party and Awami League's rival BNP is in fray for the next election. Sir, Bangladesh is now on news almost on hourly basis. A marked deterioration of the law and order, new political party or parties. One of them was born today amidst tremendous infighting. And last but not the least, the stern warning by the Army Chief General Waker-Uz-Zaman to maintain order or face international intervention. At a recent event, General Waker-Uz-Zaman said that he had had enough. I'm just quoting him. In the last 6 months, and asked people to bring order on a priority basis. If I decode, Army Chief said he was not keen to acquire power or destabilize Dr. Yunus' administration. The question is, what if order does not make a comeback? There was no order since the July 2024, or better say August 5, 2024. More importantly, is it possible for the order to come back? Can the government take action against prime actors who are behind the current instability? As a responsible citizen, a politician, and a lawyer, I'm putting every facet of you together. How do you look at it? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pritam. Thanks for inviting me. Obviously, the situation is very volatile, very unpredictable, and there was a protest, mass protest during July and August, and which forced Sheikh Hasina to flee from the country. And that time, the army chief, Wakaruzzaman, shows an exceptional leadership, exceptional vanity. He forced the then prime minister to leave the country so that our security force, that is SSF, the Special Security Force, they are highly empowered, highly strong personal security force of prime minister and president. They have heavy arms. So if she didn't flee, maybe the confrontation would have been that SSF and people will confront each other, and I suspect at least 500,000 people are gonna die, would have died. So that time Walker shows his leadership, and since then he never shows any political aspiration. He's not a politically ambitious man to the extent I can see. In last 7 weeks, we have seen at least two confession or admission from the advisor. One law advisor says he's not happy with the law and order situation, and the home advisor himself says he's also not happy with the law and order situation. And there was a mob justice ongoing in the remnantly in the country, in the roads of Dhaka and other countries. The traffic control completely collapsed. Inflation is rising. Energy crisis started in this country. In the coming days, it will be very difficult for mass people or mass citizens. And this interim government, which was initially backed by the protesters, we wanted a comparatively all-party element in the interim government, but gradually we have seen it is a slim team and it is becoming a few-party backed interim government. And then the question come up, Dr. Yunus, when he opened the dialogue for everybody, he didn't invite anyone from our League. He didn't invite anyone from Jatiya Party. So he didn't invite anybody from Jashod, one of the key left wings, or Bashod maybe. So altogether, it's not a comprehensive holistic, all-party backed, all-party supported interim government. It's a fragmentation. It's compartmental. It's slim. It's sided. And then there was a serious issue about blaming the entire administration by the protesters. We have seen the protesters say for 17 years this is a bourgeois administration. The administration needs to be replaced. The entire police needs to be replaced. Even on many occasions they raised their finger on the army chief or army as a whole institution. That uh, that the persons in disciplinary service is very difficult for them to tolerate that. So what Mr. Walker says is a strong cautionary note. The first things he says is very significant, and I really don't understand what he meant. He said, I'm warning you, our sovereignty is at stake, and don't blame me that I didn't warn you, our sovereignty at stake, if we are not united. So there must be some tension ongoing inside army. There must be some tension ongoing between army and government and other agencies. Then he says that if you point any blame army anymore, he will not tolerate it. Obviously, in the whole situation, I think army being the organized force, rational, professional, is the only way of hope left in this country to save the country. They have maturity, they have grassroots affiliation. I mean, in the sense that they have the footprint in front of them. They have agencies, they have espionage. In Bangladesh, every day, so many arson things is going on. In 7 days, we have seen some attack in the Coxbazar airbase. We have seen attack or accident in our tribal areas, in our hill tracts, where 30 resorts have been burned. Every day rape is happening. Every day chintai is going on, theft, and all these things. And in the conjecture, the protesters they are now declared to form a new party. And today, what happened in the historic place of Madhur Canteen in Dhaka University, this new party they declared a student wing, where there is a huge fighting and conflict between the students regarding the committee formation. It's normal, it's natural. So I don't see any sign of good things coming for Bangladesh. Everything is collapsing gradually and slowly or sharply. The next thing Army Chief says that we don't want any further inquiry. We don't say like this about the BDR killing. In 2009, there was a BDR killing happened in Pilkhana. He said there is a verdict, there is a judgment, there is an inquiry. We don't want any new theory for that. So that's for unity, he says, which is legally correct because once a judgment is passed, naturally on the same matter, you cannot reinvestigate the matter. So the judgment is passed on Pilkhana killing. The judgment is upheld by a High Court division, now pending before appellate division. So on a sub judice matter, you cannot do another inquiry. And also there is an enforced disappearance commission who is conducting some inquiry. This is also a little bit questionable because can a commission, a civilian commission, inquire into army's internal matter or army's or in service army persons misconduct? Because if an army person done any misconduct, it comes within the purview of court martial or army act, not the civilian commission. That another legal aspect. And finally, what most important, he said he is looking for a free, fair, inclusive election. The inclusive election means, of course, Awami League and Jatiya Party. So if you avoid Jatiya Party and Awami League, you're avoiding a considerable number of voters and candidates. And that election will be one-sided, and that election will not be acceptable, it will not be respected. It will be replica of 2014 election. So the entire process of the decades struggle went in vain because it's going to happen again a one-sided election. That is not acceptable. Definitely, the protesters have to think twice to go for a one-sided election. So altogether, and I have seen a firm commitment and command in the voice of Army Chief. Maybe I don't know his strength source, but maybe he's very annoyed. Maybe he want a real cracked on the matter. Maybe he wants a change in the administration so that the country run more efficiently. It is a very heavily dense country without the police, without the espionage, without the information agencies. It's difficult to maintain the law and order. We need efficient governments. Yes.
You say two things. One is maybe he wants a change in administration, and you also referred him saying that he wants a inclusive election. And yes, in the during the over the last 6 months, he gave an interview to Reuters where he said that he had been giving 18 months time for holding election, and
Yeah.
he reiterated that the other day. So, from the Indian side also, we know that the Indian government has also maintained, our army has also maintained that we want to see interact with a government, elected government there. Now that apart, so when you say that he wants, whether he wants a change in administration, we know that Bangladeshi Supreme Court has given a verdict for cancelling the 15th Amendment, which allows the interim government to come in on certain formulas, pre-decided formulas. So, are you referring to that?
Yes. Yes, maybe because Justice Paramahbu bench declared the 15th Amendment unconstitutional, which means ipso facto automatically the caretaker amendment, the 13th Amendment will revive. Now, it happened in earlier cases when the 8th Amendment case was declared. As soon as the 8th Amendment was nullified, pre-8th Amendment situation restored in Constitution during in 1988. So, on that reference, we can say if the 15th Amendment gone, automatically 13th Amendment, i.e., caretaker government, automatically revive. As soon as caretaker government revive, automatically this government will be slightly illegal outside the parameter of the constitution, because in the constitution there is no situation for interim government. So on the vacuum this government formed, if the constitution prescribed for a caretaker government, then the caretaker or interim government has to be formulated in line of that prescription. So then the question will come of the tenure, because the constitution says the caretaker government's tenure will be 90 days, and if they fail to hold the election for act of God or internal disturbance, it could have been another 90 days. So that's 6 months. And General Walker says 18 months, quite a long ago. Also, his tenure is about 20-22 months. So he wants a free, fair, inclusive election within his tenure. But what what if the protesters say they will not allow Awami League to participate in the election, or they say that they will not allow Jatiya Party to participate in the election? How he gonna handle this issue? How the election will be held then, if two major party or three major party is outside the election battle? That yet to see how to handle the issues. But what I've seen practically, a structured, methodical path towards election. That's what the army chief wants. And he also quite keen about the dignity of the army altogether in toto. So he says the faction within the army must be united. So in his judgment, in his wisdom, in his wise comment, there is a indication that within the army maybe someone is trying to create a faction, a dangerous faction. So that is not also acceptable in this country. So what I think at the moment, if the country go for election, let all party come, let all party declare their candidate, let the country went go into the festivity of election, and eventually the election happen, and that elected government can have relation with India and all other countries. Obviously, if election delayed, that will create another problem, because India formally denied to have a formal relation with this government, but for our essential commodity, for our neighboring security, for our FDI, we need a workable good relation with India. That is needed for any country who will decide a superpower. Because whoever want to invest in this country, the first thing they will learn or first thing they will inquiry how Indian border is reacting. So our FDI is now in downtrend. I apprehend many garments may close in coming days due to energy crisis and shortage of order. That will create another huge labor problem. The garments worker may be in the street. They will protest for wages. They will protest for job security. And these things need to be changed. This needs to be a business approach has to be adopted. So first thing, the teams need a dialogue with all parties, and it is difficult for this government to continue until election because a part of the government is already forming a new party, and that new party will participate in the election. So there is also issue of huge conflict of interest and bias because if you claim you are a fair neutral body, but part of the body is already in advisory board and part of the body is already forming a new party. So how that reconcile, it is yet to see.
I mean, going by General Waker-Uz-Zaman's 18-month, and I think also Dr. Yunus made certain remarks. Together, it comes to 2025. They are December 2025 or something like that is the outer limit to hold election. Sir, one clarification I need is that the Supreme Court gave its verdict on cancelling the 15th Amendment. Yeah, so, as you said, that it returned to the pre-amendment situation where there was a caretaker provision for caretaker government for holding the election. Now, so why it is not affected immediately? The
Oh,
court verdict was given at least 2 to 3 months ago or 2 months ago.
well, it's a common practice in this country on important cases. The government, the court give open judgment in the open court, but the written judgment it takes sometimes 6 months, 1 year, even 2 years. There is a record. So that is that is the reality. Even if the judgment is pronounced in open court, the certified copy is not ready yet. Then there will be issue of appeal, whether government prefer an appeal or not. If the government prefer an appeal, then there will be a little longer period. The judgment is not ready yet. That's why.
Okay, that is a little unfortunate, of course. Uh, Sir, now back to this students' party. This is, I think it's named as Bangladesh Ganotantrik Chhatro Sanshad. I don't know what if they have an English name, but the more or less translation is Democratic Students Federation, Bangladesh Democratic Students Federation. It was
Hmm.
formed today in Dhaka University, where the two groups had been fighting, literally fighting. And
Hmm.
sir, I did not see Nahid Islam, the advisor or minister who had just resigned for joining politics. So, does it mean that there will be another party which will be an offshoot of the Nagorik Committee or Citizens Committee? And where does Bangladesh politics, where will it stand then? So, two new parties and Islamists uh, to do with replacing in the absence of Jatiya Party and Awami League. Is that the situation that the current dispensation in power is envisaging? Over to you, sir.
Well, the new party is one party is the major party, and then there is a student wing. It's confusing whether the student wing is the sister concern of the major party, but there is a student wing of the main party. So maybe both of them are one party. In fact, now they yet to form the party, yet to apply for political registration, yet to get a symbol. Then they have to make this symbol popular and
Okay, so
visible
this
to everyone.
Bangladesh Ganotantrik Sanshad is Chhatra Sanshad is actually part of the student wing of the political party that is to
Yes,
be formed. Okay,
yes,
fine.
yes, yes, yes. So
Okay.
that's what I think. So if you come to election, if the election held in December, I think it's almost impossible for the students or the protesters to practically form a party and find good candidates and promote the candidates and make some candidates return candidate and allocate them in the parliament. It's almost impossible to do it within short time. So in that case, there is the issue whether the election will be held on time or not. And then the issue come up whether they will allow Army League and Jatiya Party and Jashad. There could be two scenarios. They disallow them altogether. Another situation, they allow them, but the situation will be like that. This party will not be able to contest. There will be bloodsheds. Either way, it will be dangerous for Dr. Yunus because if they doesn't allow any of the party, so the election will be defective from the very beginning. It will be one-sided election. If they allow, but didn't allow them for free fair election, if they don't allow to do campaign, if they don't allow to give furnish the nomination, that will be recorded misconduct, election misconduct, illegality and corrupt practice, and the blame will be for the government. This government, if this government sustain or hold until the election, can a Nobel laureate take so much burden? The election in this country shows there is always risk of violence, risk of death, risk of humiliation, risk of rubber stamp government, risk of election corrupt practice, rigging. So these all things happen in this country. And with a weak government like this, it is difficult for this government to control 30,000 centers with almost 3,000 plus candidates. Each candidate needs security, protection for fair election. It's almost impossible for this government to ensure security for voters, candidates, and everybody. So that's why we need full army support to hold the election. That's why we need full police support to hold the election. And if the election is inclusive, if all party participate, if the election is competitive, it automatically created an ecosystem for security. It automatically created an ecosystem for fairness and reflective election. So the only solution for the upcoming crisis or the continuous crisis is a free, fair, inclusive election. That's all.
So what you essentially meant is that you said that it is impossible for the Yunus administration to ensure security of the candidates. So which
Hmm.
means that you are saying that the election must not be held under them. Is it so?
There is, yeah, as you said, there is a caretaker government verdict pending and coming anytime. And since this government failed to run the country during interim time before election, it is almost axiomatic they will not be able to run the country with safety security during the election time when it is more vulnerable, when it will be more volatile, it will be more conflicting, it will be more dangerous. So that administration is a different administration. And I get the impression that this government can't hold election peacefully, and we need a expansion of the advisory board, or maybe all party government, maybe the more army deployment, more maybe army back, a national government, something like that, or capital government. So the format has to be changed, in my opinion.
Okay. Sir, well, on one side, if they keep the two parties out, and I mean, firstly, the students joining politics, I mean, forming a party, it doesn't have many track record of success. That is one side of the story. Second is
Mhm.
that if Yunus holds election without two parties, then he is clearly, uh, it will be a kind of a rubber stamp government. Anyway, that's up to Bangladesh. But Tell me one thing, assuming that your Army League and Jatiya Party are out, now in this election, we all know that the primary principal opposition of Army League, that is BNP, is a favorite in this election, right? Now, that
Mhm.
being so, so what does the government want? This government has evidently either it supported the Islamists or it enjoyed the support of the Islamists. Either way, the link between the two was quite evident. And I wouldn't blame Dr. Yunus alone because in the first political dialogue initiated by General Waker-Uz-Zaman, he called Jamaat-e-Islami first, which was then banned from, and I, if I am not wrong, it is still banned from participating in election, or whether the ban is revoked, I am not aware of. So all put together, the Islamists were visibly enjoying a very strong situation so far. Now, where do they want to lead to? I mean, one, the new party will be a king's party, presumably or visibly. And on the other hand, so will the space vacated by Army League and Jatiya Party be shared by the Islamists and the new party? Or the government is favoring the new party, suddenly changing their stance, distancing from the Islamists and allowing the other party to grow? And if so, then whether the Islamists will accept such a situation? They enjoyed the power. Over to you, sir.
Mm, well, I think, well, in the last 17 or 16 years, Awami League really created a regime with the largest party force, with the strong police, paramilitia, army, BGP. Altogether, they form a strong regime, and it was not easy for the general protesters to defeat this regime. So it is the Islamist, it is the madrasa students. They played the very crucial role. They played a visible protest role for last decades, and recently in July, it is normal. After the protest, they will be more visible. After the success, there will be more placement for them. There will be more political space they will ask. And but the protesters or the students, I think they made a couple of mistakes. First of thing, they tried to remove the president with which the BNP says they are not supporting, so it failed. Then they say they need a new declaration. So very soon, some of the protesters shows their anti-71 face. So they are not respectful to 71. They are not respectful for Bangladesh freedom fight. They think 24 is the new independence, and they even Jamaat has some embarrassment for 1971. They are trying to cover up their 71 embarrassment by 24 success. However, the issues are completely different. The context is completely different. The platform is completely different. So as the casualty, so as the legal consequence or constitutional consequence. In 71, we form a new nation, a new country. In 24, we have an intra-conflict where one government is replaced by another government. Now, in all these situations, some of the students were going to form the new party. They shows their pro Jamaat and anti 71 faith somehow. Somehow from their speech, from their language, from their tone, general people considering them as anti 71. So some of them, not all of them, some of them. So they are now within a bracket. So the people who is for 71, who is for freedom fight, or liberal or progressive, inclusive, open, I think they will not, these floating votes will not vote for these new students. And another problem, most of these students, they are campus based, they are not constituency based. Unless they get a proper support from a big party, it will be very difficult for them to win any seat. So who will be this party who will support them? It could be Jamaat, but Jamaat have some seats, and it is not really easy for Jamaat to give some seats to students from their own seat, and also it's the reconcile. Maybe the students from one district where Jamaat is not too strong, so they will ask seats from BNP, and they're expecting maybe if Awami League, Jatiya Party, and Jashod do not contest an election for whatever reason, they can capture those votes or they can manipulate the votes, which is also not true. So there is every risk this new party will fail before it started. Of course, we have two big examples of King's Party in this country. One, General Ziaur Rahman, he formed BNP when he is in power, but he is General Ziaur Rahman. He was the army chief that time. He was the freedom fighter. He was the sector commander. He was one of the Biruttam, one of the highest Kitab. And he formed the party with whom he bring all the senior politicians, as Shah Aziz as prime minister. He bring Badruddin Chaudhary, the best doctor. He just passed away a few days ago. He brings Shah Muazzam and just Barrister Maudud, one of the finest lawyer of this country. So he brings all the talents within in his party. And after his death, General Ishaq formed Jatiya Party. He bring Mizanur Rahman. He was prime minister and he is a veteran freedom fighter. He is a veteran language movement. He is a very big politician. He bring Shah Muazzam. He bring Barrister Maudud Ahmed. He bring Dr. Motin and all the big giant politicians. He started his party with the giant politicians. But now the new party, I don't see any mature politician there. Obviously, Nahid created an example because he relinquished his ministry at the moment. For many politicians, to have a flag in his car is the ultimate dream. We have seen many politicians who change their party to have the ministry, get the ministry. In that context, Nahid relinquished his ministry is a good example. Is a good example. The mistakes the students have already done, they attacked on so many fronts. They hit Jatiya Party, they hit Awami League, they hit BNP, they hit leftists, they hit journalists, they hit businessmen. So at some point, every will be antagonistic against them. And but if they don't get a space in the politics or electoral politics, maybe they will obstruct the election or they will try to delay the election. So we need a strong statesmanship to solve this political problem of allocation, of inclusion, of to make a parliament which is vibrant and a parliament which includes all stakeholders, including the students, including the S4 Army League, Jatiya Party, Jashod, BNP, everybody. And also BNP so far played a very sensible role to protect our country's independence, to protect the president, to protect Jatiya Party office, and to protect our constitution and declaration of independence. It is when BNP shouted against any mob demand, that mob demand lost its credibility. Because without BNP's support, those demand has no legitimacy or no credibility. So that wonderful power automatically BNP achieved, and BNP so far didn't misuse it. I have to admit that. I have to accept that. So still in the coming days, BNP has to play a very accommodative role for all the parties to save the country, to save democracy, and to save Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So what I understand is that one, you saying that you don't see good days are coming. You have clearly explained that why the political situation would remain volatile, at least in the immediate run. And if my only inference from your last part of your statement is that if things go according to Dr. Yunus' administration plan, then BNP will be there, and in the principal opposition could either be Jamaat-e-Islami led some coalition or the students, and you don't have much faith on, you said that students have to survive on support from either BNP or Jamaat. Thank you so much for joining at so late at night. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.